Assalamualaikum, halo mitra QR, selamat malam semua. Selamat jumpa lagi dalam QR Talk, sebuah forum diskusi praktis tentang organization excellence, leadership, self-development, and collaboration berdasarkan trust and respect untuk tumbuh maju bersama. Perkenalkan, saya Nurleli Susetiyo dari Quality Resources Coaching sebagai host merangkap panelis diskusi malam ini. Sesi malam ini adalah sesi nomor 3 ya dalam rangkaian QR Talk Global Webinar Series dengan tajuk Becoming Future Ready Organization, di mana topik malam ini adalah Future Competencies and Skills. Untuk itu bersama kita telah hadir beberapa narasumber yang luar biasa, yang sangat-sangat piawai dan berpengalaman panjang di bidangnya masing-masing untuk membantu kita atau membawa kita dalam diskusi yang pastinya seru sekali ya. Nah, diskusi malam ini akan dipandu oleh moderator kita yang juga luar biasa, yaitu Mr. Taranjit Singh. Welcome Mr. Taranjit. Mr. Taranjit based on Kuala Lumpur. Beliau adalah CEO Quantum Step Advisory yang adalah Quality Resources Consultant Partner ya, yang berbasis di KL, Kuala Lumpur. Taranjit adalah konsultan senior yang memiliki pengalaman 25 tahun plus, ya, more than 25 years of experience, membantu big corporation di Asia Pasifik dan Central Asia, termasuk dalam Human Capital Advisory dan Business Transformation. Mr. Taranjit adalah ICF Certified Master Coach dengan more than 5,000 jam hours ya, lebih dari 5.000 jam coaching, juga adalah co-founder tech startup Jobs KL ya, di KL juga, dan global advocate untuk Other Dots Foundation, sebuah yayasan humanitarian. Beliau adalah penyandang gelar MBA dari UK dan Master Laws dari Australia, serta honors degree in Chartered Management Institute, Computer Science in Law dari UK. Harus menyontek nih saya baca ya. Mr. Taranjit adalah Chair of the Regional Board Malaysia of Chartered Management Institute UK since October 2020. Okay, let's welcome Mr. Taranjit. Mr. Taranjit, all the time is yours.
Thank you, Nurleli. Thank you. Excuse me. So I'm going to do a little bit of Bahasa as well as English. I minta izin for us to do this, if it's okay. So first of all, I would like to welcome all of you. Welcome all of you for the 3rd episode of the global webinar series that focuses on becoming a future-ready organization. Today, as Ibu Nurleli has stated, our focus will be on future competencies and skills. And there has been several months now since a level of normality has returned to business. Tapi ini ada normal kata. We are still experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic, and that is still being experienced head-on. Businesses sekarang are being forced untuk terubah the way they are working, the way they operate, and the way they manage processes and their people. Leaders and managers have to re-evaluate and reconsider how best to re-energize dengan re-engage their talent. Now it's becoming even more exciting, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Why? Because we now have work from home. We have work remotely. We have hybrid. We have work from anywhere. Mana-mana you nak kerja, you boleh kerja. Tapi the question now comes in is, what does this now mean for the employee, but more critically, apa ialah masalah untuk organisasi sekarang? Employees now have to review their work-life balances. Ini ialah work-life balance atau work-life integration? What's the issue there? Their needs at home, their needs at work, and how best to manage their family considerations whilst delivering their very best on the work commitments that they have made to their employers. Students pun are being impacted. The workforce that they're coming out today is very different to when they started their studies 3 tahun dahulu. So with all this in mind, it is timely that QR has come out with this particular topic, which is future competencies and skills. And it is with the changes that are taking place, the question that then comes in is, are there themes that we see? What are the themes that we see playing out? And if so, what could they be? Apa ialah tema dalam ini? What would be the different approaches that we see playing out dalam bahagian Indonesia dengan Malaysia atau Singapura atau APAC as a whole? Importantly, are there changing roles? Are there changing jobs that are coming to the organization? And if so, what are the different requirements of these jobs will look like? What are the demands of these jobs? So, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, there are a variety of questions that we see playing out. And to better help us understand this particular exciting area, we have three eminent panelists. They are speakers that I hold in very high regard, and they'll be sharing their thoughts and perspectives. First of all, obviously, is Ibu Nurleli. She is the MD of QR, Quality Resources, who is the host of today's webinar. So, Ibu Nurleli, thank you for having us here. Nurleli started her career in Citibank Indonesia, where she was a service manager with a focus on quality management. And over the time, she's played different areas and different roles within Six Sigma, and subsequently as a VP role in service quality at CIMB Niaga Bank Indonesia. She then led the Islamic banking of Bank Permata, and then she took on the role of executive leadership coach at Maybank Indonesia. And today, Ibu Nurleli will be sharing her thoughts on what she sees will be playing out within the Indonesian talent space. Welcome, Nurleli.
Thank you, Taranja.
Thank you. Now, the second person we have at the table is Pak Irvandi Ferizal. And Pak Irvandi is the Human Capital Director of Maybank Indonesia. Irvandi started his career in the training and development area with PT Kalbe Pharma. He then went on to take on the country director role in HR at TNT Logistics Indonesia. He also went on to play in the telco space with Nokia and as a head of HR for Indonesia. And subsequently, he assumed the position of HR Director of Indonesia and Southeast Asia for Mondelez, formerly known as Kraft Foods, a fantastic organization there. The past 8 years, 8 tahun sekarang, Pak Irvandi has been the HR Director of Maybank Indonesia, and he has won numerous accolades. If you see his LinkedIn profile, wow, I am very impressed. The type of accolades that he's won for the bank, the teams that he has been leading, and today, Pak Irvandi will be sharing with us the journey that Maybank Indonesia has taken as they manage their talent and as they transformed as a banking services group over the years. How best can we manage the differing expectations that the bank has, and how best can we maintain the type of retention of people within this space? It's a very interesting area. Finally, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, I have great delight in introducing a very dear friend and a work colleague, Professor Sattar Bawany. Sattar Bawany is the CEO of the Disruptive Leadership Institute, Singapore. He's a seasoned board member, a very seasoned leadership development professional with a fabulous track record within not only the public sector, but also the private sector, respectively. He leads the prophetic leadership area within this particular space, and I have tremendous respect for the work that Professor Sattar is doing, the excellent outcomes that he's achieving for his clients. He's a much sought after keynote speaker and a facilitator of a variety of signature leadership programs. Professor Sattar is the executive global coach and has coached many organizations at a top team level, whether it be from the US all the way down to Asia Pacific. He's a prolific writer. You just see his writings on the LinkedIn, you see his writings, and I urge you to please visit the Disruptive Leadership Institute website. There are tremendous variety of papers that he has written there. But not only papers, he's also a noted author. He has written several books entitled Leadership in Disruptive Times, entitled Transforming the Next Generation of Leaders for IR4, and his most recent book will be published very soon. It's entitled Leadership in Disruptive Times, Negotiating the New Balance. Professor Sattar was the award recipient of the 2019 Executive of the Year for Human Resources Consulting at the Singapore Business Review Management Excellence Awards in 2019. Professor Sattar will be sharing with us some of his thoughts, given his global work, his research, and the fact that he's been involved in this for the past 3 decades. Specifically, he will be looking at what the future holds for us within the talent management space and the skills required for tomorrow. And it is with great delight I now have 3 fantastic speakers for you at the table today to share their thoughts, their experiences, but more importantly, what does the future look like for tomorrow? I would like to take this opportunity to make this an interactive session. It's not just a content download. The speakers, I have requested the speakers to keep it brief, but what I would like to do is hear from you and how we can interact with the speakers respectively about the things that matter most to you. I hope that is all right. And more importantly, for us to share our thoughts and opinions with each other. Before we start, I would like to welcome all the 3 speakers to the table, Professor Sattar, Pak Irvandi, as well as Ibu Nurleli. And I would also like to welcome all of you to the table for us to take pukul gambar, like they say in Bahasa Malaysia. Nurleli, would it be okay for us to take a photograph whilst everybody is here?
Sure, yes. It would be great.
Excellent. Let's take a photograph first, and then we'll start the process.
Okay.
Tell us when we are supposed to smile.
Okay, I'll count to 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. We've got everyone at the table? Yes?
Yep.
Super. All right. I would like to start this with Nurleli. Ibu Nurleli, please welcome to the table. I would like to hear your views about what's playing in the Indonesian market, specifically within the talent space. I know you are very established in the work that you do, in understanding the themes. Let's start it off with some of the themes that you see playing out. Nurleli, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Taranjit. Good evening, Professor Sattar. Selamat malam, Pak Irvandi. It's great to have you here with us. Okay, Taranjit, you asked a very interesting question and also give a very good introduction to our session tonight. So a lot of things going on and happening in Indonesia, yeah, especially when it comes to social economic topic, which also will relate to the human capital and everything that organization will do in according to it. So, but given the limited time in tonight's discussion and also to be aligned with our discussion theme of future competencies and skills, I think there are 2 facts in Indonesia socioeconomic landscape that I would be very much interested to look at and would like to share with you all here. Okay, Nabila, can you please? Yeah, okay, next slide. First fact is Indonesia GDP growth that consistently have positive growth in the last 5 quarters after COVID. right? It's put Indonesia in number 2 highest GDP growth in Asia Pacific and projected as number 6 country with highest GDP growth in the world, which even higher than China. So if we see geographically contributor, even with different level, the positive trend is happen across the country. So which is a good sign, right? So if we look at the household consumption, which is, I believe this is really important for organization to see. I mean, for business organization, yeah. After negative growth in 2020, this year is it saw significant bounce back, even about 10% higher than the stable 5% year growth before COVID. Many years is around 5%, right? And today is like 5.5%. So I think this fact would mean that we expect to see more business in Indonesia and more consumer spending. That's how I take it. So which is a good news. And the second fact that I would like to see next, Nabila, is consumer behavior, which is very important for business company and organization to understand in order to provide better products and service. We call it the 2018 is e-commerce resurgence, which is there is an England-based organization, survey organization, Merchant Machine, release a list of top 10 countries with fastest e-commerce growth. And it put Indonesia at rank number 1 with 78% e-commerce growth in 2018. The trend has put Indonesia market at the same level and at some point at the same market competition with other countries that are more developed, like US maybe, which already started the trend maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yes.
So it said the fact that Indonesia had 100 million internet users become one of the defining power that forced the growth. So in that year, average online shopping spending had achieved a $250 per person, or equal to, for now, exchange rates maybe around 4 million rupiah per person, which is less than 10% of total spending in a year. And most consumer use online shopping for travel, you know, like flight ticket and hotel, and follow with fashion product and health and beauty cosmetic product. Okay, now in 2022, next slide, Nabila. A survey conducted by Jakpat, an Indonesian-based surveyor on the e-commerce consumer behavior, where there's a lot of survey out there, but I see the figures almost the same, you know, similar. And the consumer behavior in 2020 first half saw even steeper trend on online purchasing. The fact that 370 million mobile connection users in Indonesia, which mean almost 70% mobile connection users have more than one mobile connection.
Yes.
It's really affect all of the e-commerce things, you know, e-commerce business, because 9 out of 10 respondents shop online. So 90% of respondents of the survey shop online, even though according to Kominfo, a government body, it's only 25% of population that actively do online shopping. And it is still a very huge number.
Yes.
And online shopping behavior is almost equal across generation and geographic. You know, you see that Gen Z, millennials, of course, the main shopper now because of their age and their needs and everything. But if you see the Gen X is also doing the online shopping. So interesting thing is that in terms of socioeconomic status, online shopping are done by all levels including those on the lower level, even though, it's a little bit much lower numbers on the lower level income shopper, but it is understood because maybe the online shopping is not for all for the essential, so it can be understood. And according to another survey released in Compass newspaper, August 2022, total spending on online shop has reached $70 billion
Wow.
into 2021.
Wow.
Triple from 2018 and projected to reach to $105 billion in 2025. So this is a very, very huge phenomenon, I think,
Yes.
that will affect business greatly.
Yes.
Next, Nabila. So if you see, the Indonesians spend 30% of their living costs through online shopping. And the product they buy online are almost everything now compared to before in 2018, from travel, fashion, gadget, healthcare, even home and living. So there is also no boundaries on shopping time. They shop 24 hours.
Yes.
And most people, 56% of them shop in the evening.
Yes.
And they always compare the product they tend to buy from multiple shop and even platform before doing actual purchase. So, the competition is very, very, very high here.
Yes.
So my take in this is that, what does this all tell us?
Yes.
So I think Indonesia, as our discussion, is growing rapidly, and our area of focus is internet commerce, e-commerce, which is growing exponentially. And this now has the implication on how business see themselves, implication on how business model themselves, and lastly, the implication on the type of people and competencies that are required. It sounds like there are people that are required from critical thinking that can solve problems. It is not new, but now we are talking about a very different work environment. So the question is that I have, next slide, Nabila. What is the competencies organization needs to develop now and what to maintain? And how much and how fast organizations need to adjust their business model to address consumer needs? What is the strategy to obtain the required competencies? Because, it's I believe it's a lot of companies hiring because they cannot fulfill the job that need to be fulfilled. And also that what is the model that really affect and can come to the market as fast as they can to address these needs? So I think that's a big question from me, Taranjit. I hope I don't take so much time.
No.
So back to you.
Thank you. So there are a couple of things here, Nurleli, that is coming out. The first thing is around the changing demands that we are seeing from the net, and we are experiencing that in Malaysia as well, Lazada atau Shopee or whatever the deal is. But you've raised a very good point around how does this now look like from a talent strategy side? How are we now going to address this? And I think this sets up a very nice play for Pak Irvandi to come to the table and share with us some thoughts that he has from a Maybank side. So, Pak Irvandi, may I invite you to the table to share your thoughts?
Sure.
And what exactly is Maybank doing? I mean, it's an amazing bank. I currently am a consumer banker of Maybank. They are also my enterprise related, and I've had a long history with it. And you've seen how Maybank has moved from a traditional retail bank to now, online Maybank to you and what have you. Share with us your thoughts, Pak Irvandi.
Yeah, I think Ilan Guleli actually already give us a perfect perspective on the change of customer behavior, right?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, maybe I also can share my slide, to make it easy for us to discuss. Sorry. Okay. Yes. And yeah, it's very perfect to say that a chain of customer behavior. Yeah, like Bu Nurleli mentioned, it's not about the Grab or whatever, Gojek or in Indonesia, for example, or Uber before kill the taxi conventional. It's not about Airbnb kill the Ekor Group, for example, or Ibis, whatever. It's not about Shopee and Lazada or Indonesia Tokopedia kill the retail shop, for example. But because there is a chain of customer behavior, the same like the bank.
Yes.
Why we have now digital bank? Why we have now a digital solution for the bank? Because there is a new customer behavior. The new customer behavior created while, like for example, Grab, Gojek, GoCar, for example, or Airbnb can address well what the new need, correct? The same like digital. For example, like today, Karanjit, in Maybank, Maybank Indonesia, 90% of the banking transaction came from digital today in Maybank Indonesia. Only 9% come from the bank. The bank means the brands. Okay, you can imagine for the whole transaction can be served already by digital. Okay. So this because why? Because with the new technology, you can see and the technology advance make this possible, but as well make a good pressure from the COVID-19 while everything is cashless, everything is brandless. You don't need to go to anywhere. Okay, you can go do a transaction from everywhere. There's technology advancement. Then absolutely there is impact as well for evolution of business landscape because the competitive totally different, correct? The competitive business totally different. So that's what we need. In Maybank, we call this a lot of futurization. We talk about workforce because in reality, we now our millennial already in the leadership level. Okay.
Yes.
While the centennial, I call it Gen Z centennial, already starting to enter the employment. Okay.
Yes.
New level. Yeah. Okay. And we can now, like you mentioned, can work from anywhere. Okay. Now we work with machine. We need as well new competencies. If not, you know that in Indonesia we call it gagap technology. You don't know how to operate everything correct and the system, for example. A lot of robotic, for example. Now in Maybank Indonesia, we introduce a lot of robotic process automation, for example. Not really the robot one, but a lot of process automation process. Okay.
Yes.
We now new name, we call it artificial intelligence, machine learning. You know, there's everything go there. There's work style futurization. Everything we in Maybank, for example, Indonesia, we can predict who can exit, for example, who can make the acquisition for the bank because we already have some data with the, for example, 3 years data, 1,000 data. We know the algorithm, or there's potentially with this category of the algorithm, people potential to leave, for example. Okay, that's in the past is not cannot make it. Now that based on that, Karanjit, we need totally new future competencies. Absolutely, future competencies to address our future-proof organization. Maybe you call this a future ready organization, correct? But that's what we need. We need absolutely, yes, we call this in Maybank digital awareness. We need, for example, to understand the customer's need. In Maybank, we call this human-centered design. Okay, we know how to make it our mobile banking, for example, not just digital, but to understand what they painful from the customer. You are Karanjit from a customer Maybank group. Thank you for that. But we try to understand what you painful when you open our mobile banking, what you don't like it. Okay, for example, and then we address to solve it. Just human-centered design, for example. How we learn from data, to make decision. We understand the new segment. We cannot just push all product to all customers. We must understand this is the segment of, we call the silver age, golden age. This is young professional, totally different than that's what we call this data analytics, correct? Data analytics. Okay, And then as well as agility, we understand about the future communication. Maybe I can explain you later on the future competencies in Maybank. But in reality, Charanjit, it is not easy. Not easy. Yeah. If I want to share this in this term as well, the first one, we have big coverage of location. Yeah. Maybank Indonesia have 11,000 of employees, correct? And then absolutely in total in all provinces in Indonesia. So how to ensure, not in Jakarta, but people, for example, in the corner of archipelagos there, also the same rhythm, correct? To understand about futurization and as well as new technology. Absolutely, maybe the portion not similar with Jakarta or the big city, but absolutely they must align as well, correct? They cannot be alone outsider there, for example, in the corner of island, for example.
Yes.
That's the first one. Yeah, it's not easy. And then absolutely as well, because always talk about the future, correct? And then this is like paradox, correct? Future or BAU, business as usual.
Yep.
I don't think we need it now. We still need to focus on the short term, correct?
Yeah.
But on the side, hey, let's prepare for the future.
Yeah.
No urgency lah. We're still okay with this, but you know that suddenly it's happened in Nokia. I'm the alumni of Nokia. Yeah, I really know what happened in Nokia, for example. While you reject to make it what's called Android, for example. Okay, and the silo thinking. Silo thinking meaning this technology, this is only for IT, digital thing. Not I'm human capital, I'm risk management, I'm legal. Oh, maybe I don't need it. Maybe just silo thinking. I call it Tai Chi methodology, correct? You push out everybody. Okay. And the other one is challenge as well, knowledge and implementation. You know, a lot of knowledge there we can learn, but how to implement that in the business? Not just knowledge. Knowledge you can easily to take from YouTube, whatever, the speaker, whatever. But to make this impacted to the business and then make it real life, we need time, correct? And then execution issue. And then the last one in my experience in Maybank Indonesia, Charanjit and all audience here, this is just something new, and then absolutely we need to align to implementation. We also need to have the expert practitioner, not expert in knowledge, but expert practitioner. You know, they have also already have experience, for example, talking about agility, Scrum, for example. Okay, how to implement this, not just for IT, but for the all process we have. And then what is suitable best practice we can learn. Yeah, we have, the textbook we have a lot, but we want to get it, to learn from other best practice. But it's not easy to find this situation. So meaning, no choice, we must learn from mistake, correct?
Yes.
We must learn from our experience, and then we try to push this to create the future competency. Maybe that's my first part, Charanjit, to give the view.
Okay.
Ibu Nurleli, thank you.
That's fantastic. So thank you, sir. I think two things comes across here in terms of the ability to ensure consistency. Maybank Jakarta, Maybank Bandung, Maybank Jakarta, Maybank. So there's that, and that in my mind is a problem. How do we ensure that there's a level of consistency of skills?
Yes.
How do we ensure? And I'll be very intrigued to hear, and I'm sure a lot of our members of the audience will be intrigued to hear how do you actually do that? But before we go any further, thank you for that, Pak Irvandi. Let's call upon Professor Sattar. Professor Sattar has done tremendous research in this particular area, and I've seen the work that he has done. I've read the books. The books are actually fantastic frameworks for people like myself. I would certainly urge you to have a look at his 3 books in this regard. So, Prof, over to you, sir. What are your thoughts about what we are talking about?
Good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us this session. Thanks, Ranjit, Nurleli, Pak Irvandi. Well, the title is about future competencies and skills. This is what I have been involved over the last 30 years, especially since 2000, the intensive research since the .com bust, and I'll talk a little bit about that. when we talk about future roles and future competencies and skills, but at the end of the day, what is it in for you? The employees, the workers, the organization is to ensure that there are enough talent which will be able to fulfill the specific role for the future work. The digital-centric role, 90% of the role that you see today going to disappear. And a lot of them become redundant. Either you upskill, reskill, today, and you'll be redundant in 5 to 10 years' time. Now, what do I mean by that? Because Pak Irvandi talked about some of the revolution that's happening at the workplace. And I think one of the things that you should be asking yourself, so look, how do I prepare for the future? Roles like data scientist, roles like digital knowledge manager, roles like data analytic specialist, interactive metaverse developer, hybrid content manager, social marketing, interactive manager. All these roles, you don't hear that, but they're already happening in the US. Company like Procter & Gamble, my client company like GE, Boeing, British Petroleum, ExxonMobil, company like in Thailand, PTT, the petroleum entity. In Malaysia, Petronas is trying very hard, and also for CIMB to a lesser extent. But we have many other companies in Europe. Daimler Benz, which the parent company of what we call the Mercedes-Benz. They are all right now already in that space. So let me start. Can I have the slide, please?
Yes.
Or maybe I can.
No worries. There we go. It's on.
Okay. So the title, the theme of this series of webinar by Quality Resources is called Future Competencies and Skills. So my session are going to be very controversial. I'm telling you now, both leaders, managers, employees, develop these new skills or perish. You'll be made redundant. So listen very carefully, and work that I've done globally, published, and today is my books are being accepted in universities all over the world. For example, in Harvard Business School, MIT, Stanford, all these leading universities are using it as part of the MBA program to prepare leaders of the future. So I'm going to talk about that. And my work encompasses globally. I work very closely with my team in the US. And of course, in Asia Pacific, I work with a lot of associate coaches, consultants who work with C-suite. I only work with C-suite. These are CEO and direct report in terms of developing for the knowledge-driven, digital-centric or VUCA-driven world, future of work. Okay. So next, all my work are published in the work. In 2000, I was doing a lot of white paper. Then I decided to consolidate in 2019, the first book, the one in the middle called Transforming the Next Generation for IR 4.0 or Industry 4.0, looking at specific skills, competency that is required to survive in 4.0, Industry 4.0. And then subsequently in 2000, a year later, I came out with a book called Leadership Disruptive Time because of COVID and digital transformation is being accelerated because of COVID. What it takes for organization, both private, public sector, government agency, non-profit, to be able to survive in a post-pandemic. And then over the last 1 year, since November last year until now, I've been involved in looking at research globally. What are the disruptive competency? What are the crisis? The behaviors that leaders need to demonstrate during crisis by interviewing over 500 of CEOs, C-suite leaders worldwide. And that is going to be published in the book Extreme Right. It's called depending where you're looking at it, the Leadership Disruptive Time, Negotiating a New Balance. That will be out. It's supposed to be out November, but it will be out in January because of the latest research that I'm going to put in. Was published on the 29th of September in New York, which I'm going to share with you. And you can get all the information from the Disruptive Leadership website that you see there on the slide. Going there, there are a lot of free resources. I put it up because I want to share the knowledge. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in the 2023 book, January, so the critical skills and competency required for the future, for success at the workplace, I extract this for you. And you can see very clearly, technological development, which is revolutionary. We look at technology innovation, disruptive innovation. It's going to continue. The development of AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotization, a lot of data analytics, huge data. You look at what Google has set up the worldwide, all the data centers throughout the world. And Singapore is one of the countries that Google decided to invest, beside the US, of course, and Ireland. And they have put in data. Everything that you type on Google, be very careful, everything is captured. Every single thing they own. Many people don't understand when you use Google, when you use Facebook, we use LinkedIn, a lot of things, the fine print, that everything, the photo that you put up, everything belongs to them. And be careful. So there's a lot of huge data, and this is going to drive the future success. So what is happening because of this, as Pak Irvandi mentioned, and also Taranjit in his previous session, the webinar, talked about the different competencies. And that's why we're going to go into deeper. This competency model has to change. And the critical skills for success in future in our research include cognitive readiness, suite of competency. Again, go to my website, you want to get papers, white papers, what is cognitive readiness. Google is using it. So Google is our client in the US, our partner client, EDA. We are training Google, NASA, CIA, how to think critically, how to solve problems, how to develop disruptive innovation through design thinking, how to be able to develop digital-centric. Our client, Microsoft, Starbucks, which you can get in my 2020 book, all the case studies, how they transform. So the key question I'm going to ask you is this. Look at your own organization. If all the employees, leaders, managers in your organization, does he have the capacity, I repeat, even at the board level, this morning I was at a board session talking about the future of the workplace, what are some of the board's role. And I'm very sad to say many board members are not aware or do not know. There's what we call the knowing-doing gap. They know they read, they know what is it. But when I ask them, what are you going to do? Most of them are not able to articulate, and of course, oh, this is the CEO role, this is the management, senior management role. I said, no, it's your responsibility as board member to drive, to give strategic insight, to see, have governance oversight, and you work with the senior management, the CEO in particular, to implement this future strategy. So remember, don't pass the buck and leave it to the CEO. The board member have to do it. The CEO have to implement it, and the C-suite have to work with the CEO as part of the core team, what we call co-leadership team, to implement. Next slide, please. So there's a very interesting research it's publicly available by the World Economic Forum. So every year, almost every year, except COVID, I think they stopped 1 year, but every year they publish what would they predict based on research worldwide. They interview global leader, thought leader, they interview practitioner. What are the skills? So from 2015, they have been doing this interview. So 2020, 2015, 2025, then 2030. So you look at the skills is becoming more and more digital-centric, and it has a lot of complexity. In other words, competency like complex problem solving, critical thinking analysis. You look at the 2025, okay, these are the analytical thinking innovation, disruptive. Look at number 4, number 3, complex problem solving, critical thinking. Then you look at 2030, then look forward. In about 8 years' time, what will be critical for success? Judgment decision making, because you need to make decisions. Because you cannot leave it to a robot. Yeah, but you need to program. You need to make decisions. Yeah, robotic process automation, like DBS Bank, in my case study in the 2020 book, Piyush Gupta, the CEO, implementing the digital transformation plan. And the simplest thing that bank can do, I don't know about Maybank, is RPA. I work with one of the largest worldwide insurance company, and how everything is all digitized. Yeah. So that, but you need to make the decision where to go, where to invest. Then, of course, the rest you can read there, deductive reasoning, complex problem solving, and monitoring system. So you don't see those emotional intelligence and all these soft skills. It's not that they're not important. Let me repeat, they are important because you deal with robots. You still need to develop a relationship. You still need to have empathy to solve problem of customer problem, to develop customer centricity like Starbucks or Microsoft. You need to have empathetic listening, which the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, in my book, I mentioned very clearly. And he's the best example of a global leader who has transformed Microsoft. Forget about Bill Gates, forget about Steve Ballmer, the first two CEO. He's the guy, the person who revolutionized Microsoft today to turn around to be the best organization in the world. From a market capitalization, the largest market cap. And how he does it is about people, PPT, people over process and technology. Put the people first. And process and technology are enabled. This is not important. I'm not saying not important at all, but in relative to the people, get your talent right, get the skills and competency, develop them, equip them, then they can execute the digital transformation strategy. Next slide, please. So the 2020, over 20 years of research since 2000, the dot-com buzz. So I'm looking at some of the competitors, but dot-com buzz is interesting. The bubble, the dot-com bubble because of a lot of startup overvaluation, in March 2020. Sorry, March 2000, 1 year before the September 11, a lot of companies gone bust. But that is not really global crisis because it affects mostly the startup. And then I go look at September 11, then looking at the global GFC, which are all these are crises. I get involved in the crisis since 1984, the first oil crisis. 76, I was leaving school, but the 84 there was the oil crisis. Then in 97, 98, the Asian financial crisis, I was involved. I was with Hay Group. Then I was in Boston with Forum, Financial Times, FT Knowledge, where we looked at the September 11. I was in the US. Then we looked at the global financial crisis. I was with DBM Global, looking at how the GFC has transformed not only the financial sector and the rest. And of course, after that, you have SARS. You have SARS. Then you have so SARS before the GFC, and then you have the COVID-19, which is the last 2 years. And all this consolidate in my book, and I talk about what are the competencies to survive in the future. It's all got to do with agility, innovation-driven, disruptive mentality. Number one, the most important, you need to disrupt your mentality. During the COVID-19, I was so disappointed with a lot of leaders, both political, government, business, NGO. The most common word that you hear is called unpredictable, unexpected. I said, rubbish. If you have a disruptive mentality, if you have heard Bill Gates in 2015, you have studied what George Bush, as the panel looked at the crisis of Ebola and how the pandemic, a lot of things are put forward, but a lot of companies are not implementing it. So now we learn the hard way. Look at COVID, and then what do you do? Got to justify their position. Oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And I always, challenge them in worldwide. When I talk during the COVID, I was not traveling, but virtually traveling in Africa, Europe, Asia, China, Russia, all over, talking about what you should have done. And that is not on hindsight, but I have been talking about this disruptive competency. You can go and get the abstract from my book. The next slide, please. And then we look at the cognitive reading. I'm going to focus on which Google, our client in US, and in the 2023 book, you can see there at the bottom, the reference is going to be a case study of Google. So Google culture is based on disruptive innovation. They have products like, probably you're not familiar in US, Google Fiber. You probably hear about the wearable, device, the Google spectacle. Probably the most common thing, you probably use the Google search the engine, and they have Google Translate. It's a wonderful tool. Please go and look for Google Translate, Bahasa Indonesia to English or English to Bahasa Indonesia, or vice versa. And what I like about Google, and they have developed this organizational culture where they allow people to experiment. Experimentation is very important as part of the digital transformation about the digital-centric culture. So what they do is allow employees to have time out. We call it a time out to develop. They take about 20% of the time. Okay, you do anything you want that interests you, but ideally that would have value to the organization and you can apply. And that is, to do that, they need cognitive readiness. Again, I won't go into detail. My website has all the description, the paper, the article. So there's mental connection, attentional control, because there's so many chaos. There's so many things happening, as Peter Senge talked about, thrive in chaos. And the environment, the VUCA-driven, or vocab, I call it vocab, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, and disruptive environment for the last 20 years means that you need to be focused, mindfulness, and the rest you can read, sense making, connecting the dots, problem solving. Some of them, communication is very important. All this you can see aligned to WEF. But we do our own independent research with EDA Executive Development Associate over the last 20 years. And work with the EDA, and we publish that. And you can see that in my new book. Next slide, please. All these are in the work from the website you can get. Now, this is the latest, which is going to be published in the book. So I looked at, actually I started looking this, my role in Hay Group in 1997, 96, 97, 99. So I was looking at the crisis. So interestingly, when I joined Hay, we were in the Asian financial crisis. So looking at the Thai, we start from Thailand, Thai baht, and then spread to Indonesia, revolutionized Indonesia to what it is, the fall of Bapak Suharto, Bapak President Suharto, and revolutionized many countries in Asia, and change of government. And then we have, of course, as I said, after that, the dot-com bubble, then you have the September 11, 2001, September 11, 2001. Then you have the GFC 2008, 2009. So if you look at it, and then there's a snapshot for all the four crises in one single, at the bottom, there's a Singaporean guide. So I can tell you, you look at all the impact, example, a case study of Singapore, the GDP, and almost all the economic crisis, almost all the financial crisis leads to economic recession and leads to fall in GDP, and that affects unemployment rate, inflationary rate, and is what we are going through. And if you look at future crises, be prepared. There's going to be a huge financial crisis, and analysts, of course, the US government is trying to address the concern, but I believe there will be a slowdown. The US over the last two quarters, first quarter, second quarter, end of July, the report by the US Treasury, the Fed Reserve Bank has published the quarter to quarter, and there are 2 quarters of negative growth. So what it means, technical recession. Yeah. Now, whether it will come out, I'm not sure, because of the situation with the Ukraine-Russian war, the geopolitical, the global world order that we see today is going to impact. And that will affect Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. Look at the currency, how the US has strengthened. Singapore is very unique because of the monetary authority of Singapore, with the de facto central bank, decided to strengthen the Singapore dollar. But you look at the rupiah against the US, Malaysian dollar against US is dramatic, strengthening of the US dollar. So be prepared. Inflation is high. What does it mean? These are signs that a global crisis is coming, and it's possible. It's possible by early next year, end of this year, early next year, you're going to see that. And there's a trend. Then I'm not worried about SARS. I'm not worried about SARS. I'm not worried about COVID. For the last 20 years, I've been talking about avian flu. Many of you may not be aware, this is far much more disaster. It's going to be a huge disaster. I think March this year in US, there's a huge crisis. The bird flu or H5N1. Of course, China, Vietnam, the news, they try to cull all the chickens and, the turkey, whatever, all the different. Now, I'm very worried because this is highly transmissible.
Yeah.
And you see, you can transmit to bird, there's a lot of scenario. And I was part of the Singapore volunteer. We have this task force, advisory task force in 2010. I was, we were anticipating. There was in Vietnam, China, but that you may migrate, because the birds can bring it.
Yes.
Across. And this is serious. Many people are not giving attention. So I'm telling you, when you go to WHO website, you can look at this. Go to US CDC website, Center for Disease Control. Look at this, the data. Look at the Chinese government, and this is very controversial. They do not reveal a lot. In my book, 2020 book, I mentioned this. In March 2020, there were 33 variants. I repeat, January 26, there was a Wuhan crisis, the lockdown in Hubei province. In March, 2 months later, 33 variant in China was found and was published in the Lancet magazine in the UK, the British medical journal. But the Chinese government did not inform the WHO, and they still deny that the virus of the nCoV SARS-2 or nSARS-CoV-2 or nCoV SARS-2, I can't remember, comes from China.
Yeah.
But this is, and then the last one, I'm very concerned. Besides the future world order, look at the geopolitical, the South China Sea conflict. The Chinese, the Xi Jinping now being elected to the third term. He is very strong. He said, you're going to use the military power to take over Taiwan. We're going to use our power to show the US that the South China Sea is ours. The word China, the South China Sea, he said the word China, tell you that this is, and they are going to defend. We have countries like Brunei, Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, many countries contesting, except Singapore, we have no claim. But many countries in Southeast Asia is claiming the resource rich materials in the South China Sea, and they have built, and the Chinese have built many islands to put the flag. And the American response is to go in there to poke and try to make things, and then the US 7th Fleet travels from Singapore to Tokyo, passed through the South China Sea, and I've been on board one of the nuclear submarine called USS Ronald Reagan. I was invited by the US government as a guest when I was the chairman of the American Chamber, and I was huge. I look at the phenomenal US power. And China is not there. Economically, China will take over US in terms of geopolitical in the next 10 years. But China cannot take over the superior military power because, and as of now, they only have 2 aircraft carriers, Li Naoxing, and you have another one which is refurbished. The US have more than 100 over aircraft carrier and cruisers, and to support the worldwide global order. Will China compete? And I think in 20 years' time, yes, China will be militarily and will surpass, and this is my research. And lastly, and something that many people do not talk about, the net carbon zero, the ESG is going to be the biggest disruptor. It's going to hugely impact. How do companies transform their business processes, the supply chain, to be able to conform to net zero carbon? How do you ensure the carbon dioxide emission, gas emission is going to be controlled, and a lot in the Paris climate, and then also in Ireland, last year, countries have committed to manage this. India, for the first time, India, America, China, I'm not sure that they fulfill, rectified by their parliament or their state politburo. I'm not sure, but many of the other countries has confirmed that they're going to do that, and this is going to disrupt business. So in my 2023 book, I'm going to talk about this carbon, global geopolitical, how do you prepare for future crisis, financial crisis. So there are a lot of, and I will share with you for the first time, the result. The last slide will be, the next slide is the last slide, I think.
Sure.
So this, the outcome of all what I just talked about the last 5 minutes is this slide. So you need to look at it. Can you move next slide, please? Next 2 slides is very critical. So On the 29th of September 2022, which is about less than a month ago in New York, we published the research about the crisis model. Again, I'm not going to go into detail. You go to my website, disruptleadership.institute, you can get all the detail. And I spoke at a global webinar I hosted out of Canada and Medina in Saudi Arabia because the director was based there. It was a global webinar, and it was 1st October, I introduced this. What is the future competency? Communication is still important, empathetic listening. So don't be fooled by the disruptive digital that, oh no, soft skills, it is important. How do you communicate? How do you adapt? How do you communicate your strategy to your team during disruptive time? Resilience, very important. Compassion, intelligence using the data analytics, AI. Shift your mental model, adopt a growth mindset to be able to see positive thinking, be inspiring, build trust, and lastly, set the recovery path. Where do we go from here? How do you get there? So again, I'm not going to read in my, I'm giving all this free in the book. I mean, the framework you can read in my website. Last slide, please. So my question is to all of you is this. And at the end of my 30 years of research, I came out with the leader model, which will be in January 2023, will be published. You are the first audience in the world going to see this because it just completed on Monday. So how do you prepare for the next structure? Number one, let me tell you this. If you are not leveraging on organizational learning, you are doomed to fail. You need to learn, unlearn, relearn. Everyone from the board, the CEO, C-suite, middle manager, supervisor, frontline, everyone need to learn, unlearn, relearn. Number two, embed a innovation-driven organizational culture. Do experimentation, adopt design thinking to transform your organization to be future-centric, digital-centric, and customer at the center of whatever you do. Third one, A, is foster organizational agility, resilience to be able to transform as the change is impacted, as the disruption, the ESG, the net carbon zero, look at global order. And when the recession hit you, you need to maneuver. You need to move to the new business model. How do you do it quickly? Learn from the failure during COVID. Number four, decisive in a VUCA-driven business challenges. How do you be more agile in a disruptive, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguous business environment? E, empathy, as I said, is important because you cannot do away with soft skills. I disagree with a lot of, because I look at Microsoft, how successful Satya Nadella, the CEO, says very clearly, empathy is a cornerstone of our strategy. If you don't have the heart to be able to articulate, you don't have the heart, the people and the customer at the center of the strategy, you are doomed to fail. And lastly, remember this PPT, not PowerPoint. PPT is putting people over processes and technology. Always focus on the people. It's the people that make it happen. It's the people who drive the strength. It's the people who are going to make it happen, not the process, not the technology. These are enablers. You can get consultants, but you cannot get a consultant to do the job because the people who knows the culture, the people are the one going to make it happen. That's it. I think this is the
very
last
good.
one.
Very good. Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sattar. Now that
I think a little bit longer time. Yeah. Okay.
No. That's absolutely brilliant. I like the things that you've raised around the WEF approach about their complexity thought process. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I remember you presented that in your
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But I think what is also critical is, and I would like some thoughts here from the audience, and we're already getting some views here. Nabila, if you could just help coordinate this, please, I'll be really grateful. But allow me to start setting the context for the audience. One is there a very different thought process, a very different complexity of role that we are seeing today that was not there before? And I would like to think that, yes, there is. Jobs are changing, role complexities are changing. We have jobs that we've never had before. So let's not talk about competencies from a technical side, whether it be RPA, whether it be AI, leave that. Let's talk about competencies from a managerial and leadership side. is there a fundamental difference in the way it used to be yesterday to the way it's coming in tomorrow? And I would like to think that although the competencies remain the same in terms of their wordings, the definition is now changing because the basis on which they are based on is also evolving. That's what I am taking away from these discussions. I like Professor Sattar's crisis framework and the leaders framework. I think that's absolutely spot on. What are the questions that are being asked? May I ask Nabila, could you help me with the questions, please? What's playing out here? Appreciate how you elaborate forward looking at the next generation competencies, and this is from DSK and the trend about global crisis. But we understand in major population in Southeast Asia or ASEAN countries, how disruptive is the impact of social behavior and industrial re-engineering towards zero carbon, since the leaders are in the driving seats? What are your thoughts on this, Professor Sattar, in the way to impact the current thinking of current generations to allow and align to the future shape of the organization in general? So we're talking about social behavior and industrial re-engineering vis-a-vis zero carbon. Prof. Sattar, your thoughts here, sir?
Yeah, and I think, sorry, DSK, I'm not sure, I cannot see the photo. It's probably one of my contact. The initial, anyway, this is a very good question. Now, when I do the interview for the 2023 book, when I talk about ESG, net carbon zero, many people say, look, Prof, are you sure that this is going to be a concern? Because of businesses, right now they are surviving. They're worried about, can we survive? The board is talking about the future is about sustainability. Now, I'm saying that may not be our generation, but in the next 20, 30, 40 years, I think we need to mute everyone else. Can we mute everyone else? But this disrupting my feedback. What is happening? We can see two things. One is the younger folks, the Gen Z, those born between 1994 to 2015, they are more, and also Gen Y as well, those born 1980 to 1993, 94. So these two groups, Gen Y and Gen Z, they are more inclined, they appreciate, they understand. You look at Greta Thunberg, the young girl from Sweden, you know, the what we call the influencing the global agenda, you know, appearing in all the worldwide, you know, forum on climate change. Now, let me tell you this, a lot of, and I'm very sorry to say this, many business CEO, and I talk about, Prof, it's not, right now, maybe a future CEO, they are say, wrong. It's your fiduciary role, it's your responsibility to think it now, like what PTT in Thailand is doing, what Petronas, what GlaxoSmithKline, GSK, what Procter & Gamble, is a responsibility of the current leadership to start thinking, is the political will of the government to put in place infrastructure. So, but I agree with this question. I mean, the DSK here asking is, how do you deal with this disruptive social behavior? People are still not accepting the need to do this, because I blame the political leader who are not able to articulate and clearly demonstrate what is the in for me as a voter, as a resident, as a citizen. I don't see why. Why do I need to do this? Because they fail to do that. They fail to articulate. And business leader and board member, I hold this morning, I was at the Singapore Institute of Directors, the board convention. We're talking about the role of board members. And one of the biggest problems, the board, they like to delegate to CEO. No, never mind. They want to take the fat, you know, director's fee. They want to get all the perks. But when it comes to about all these big, huge challenges, they will rather quietly put it aside and let the CEO have it.
Yes.
So the answer at this point, I agree with the questioner that we're going to have a big problem. But I think in the government, the NGOs, the businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, all come together to be able to work cohesively, collaboratively, articulate. What does it mean? Why? It's our future, our children, grandchildren future. I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Look at the carbon net carbon goal. That is aspirational right now. But we have to start somewhere. But if you don't do it now, you don't develop the strategy now, you're going to be doomed to fail. And look at this case, my book, 2020, talk about PPT, the Thailand Petroleum Company. It's a great example.
Yes.
It's a great example. They make it simple. I will provide that link if you want. Or the case study will come out in January. Yeah, sorry, Karan.
No. And I think, Professor Sattar for presidency, man. I swear to you, I love it. I love the passion that you bring to the table.
A lot of government prime ministers or ministers, when I talk to them, government agency, they are not able to take it.
No.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you, and I'm equally passionate because of the sense of the lack of accountability for a longer term. To be fair, they're running to their short-term requirements because they are only around for 5 years. It's not a longer term. But let's not go down that path. There is a good question here for Pak Irvandi. As a regional bank, how does Maybank articulate the culture for your future leader in the organization, given all that is playing out? Pak Irvandi, your thoughts, sir?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Prof. Sattar. A lot of insight we got. I'm a practitioner, but I connect directly with your research-based finding. Yes. But answering DSK question, yes, talking about culture, like Prof. Sattar mentioned before. Maybe the culture not change. The culture meaning is because we have the culture in my bank, our value is Tiger, correct? Teamwork, integrity, growth, excellent efficiency, relationship. But the definition can be different. Meaning, in the past, for example, teamwork is just talking about how we work together, correct? But teamwork now can be like collaboration, correct? Agility. This can be not the principles not change. The principle not change. But how we articulate the culture for the next future leader can be different. You know what I mean? That's basically what we are moving on that on the culture. So that's my view. Maybe Prof. Sattar can also have your view. Sometimes while organization change, technology impacted our organization. Sometimes we try to forget, we try to eliminate our belief, our our key principle in organization. In my view, maybe it should not be like that, but should be updated with the relevant, should be relevant with the new one. That's my view, DSK. Thank you.
Okay, good. And I think if I may just request you to share very quickly your thoughts around how do you align those skills and competencies between different parts of the organization, Jakarta, Bandung, different parts of. So what is the 2 or 3 things that you've done, Pak Irvandi, to ensure that there's this commonality of these skills?
Taranjit, I think we must clear the process of the transformation journey, correct? It cannot be suddenly to be immediately the new format.
Yes.
Yeah, we cannot make any change without people aware. So we should start with awareness level first. How to create the burning platform. We need to change. We need to disrupt, correct? That could be through maybe the campaign, continually training, maybe the board should be taught, should be benchmark to others. That's where the level of the awareness. Then after that we go to acceptance level. Acceptance level, absolutely, we try to go for the training. Okay, when we create something, what is in it for me? Because people never want to change if they don't understand what's meaning for me. But is it for me? This we need to understand, correct? And then we can align with our company structure, practice, system, SOP, product, and service, absolutely all practices must be aligned. Then the second level of awareness, acceptance, and then we go to the next stage. The next stage is the enforcement. The absolute, while our KPI, the scorecard, we try to reward as well as award, and absolutely the key one for the change is storytelling. Make it a success story. Nice. Make it stories success storytelling. Then this is go to the next stage. Is talking about behavior, talking about change. Okay, and then we cannot just change immediately. Suddenly we want to change, and then immediately people have absolutely have a resistance for the change.
Yes,
they must understand what is it for me for this change. Okay, then I think the key one, Charanjit.
Excellent, excellent. I love it, and I think you've hit the entire Sarah curve.
Yes.
Like so absolutely brilliant. Thank you, sir. Now we have a question from Pak Muhammad Zafir, and this is addressed to Prof. Sattar. Sir, mentioned about the crisis model, and that was brought up, which raises the importance in future despite technological advancements and the digital age. What are some of the methods we can improve on and build such skills that you use in the crisis framework and take it beyond that threshold? Prof. Sattar?
Thanks, Zafir, for the question. I think there are many methods. One of the things that I really encourage organizations to adopt is experimentation. To be able to have disruptive innovation, to be able to create a culture that is future-centric, customer-centric, you need to go back to the basics. And I was invited by Sam Dabi early this year to talk about exactly this. How do you look at the plantation industry? How do you allow the organization to be future-centric? So I recommended experimentation, helping people to understand, and you need to empower them, give them the flexibility to try out. That's what Google does very successfully, Microsoft does very successfully, and Procter & Gamble, among others. So that's what, but most companies say, look, it's a very risky, we have very little resources. If you could allow them to play, trial, and then if it doesn't work, then we lose all the resources. So it's about mindset shift. So this is where DBS Bank is fantastic. Piyush Gupta, the CEO, decided when he came in 2009 after the financial crisis, he replaced Jackson Tan, the previous CEO, and he revolutionized. He go to the board and said, look, we need to prepare. The future is no more in retail banking. The future is looking at how the mobile is going to transform. We look at the platform company like Alibaba, look at company like this in US, Amazon plus the Alibaba, I forgot Alibaba.
Tencent.
Sorry?
Tencent?
No, in US.
Oh, in the US.
eBay. So what he does, he says, okay, look, to transform the culture, to get people to understand, look, we need to change the culture, the mindset. So what he came out with is very interesting. He talked about DBS Bank, leave more, bank less. Means you want the power to do this in your hands, in your mobile phone, in your hand. You don't need to queue up for the bank. You need to have innovation as a cornerstone of your strategy. How do you have sandbox? How do you have trial? How do you have experimentation? Then he make data-driven AI as cornerstone of the decision-making portfolio. Then you have collaboration against with partners, and they have trust based between the business and the functional HR, IT with the business people. Then you have disruptive mentality in coming up with new solutions, and of course, agility and flexibility. So these are some of the ways in which you can make breakthrough success, and these are proven. But the problem, you have to start somewhere. Remember, it's about PPT. Always put your people over process technology. If you don't do that, that's why a lot of banks fail. In US, the best bank, JP Morgan, is investment banking. Jamie Dimon, the CEO, has been, of course, investment banks are different from, corporate banking, retail banking, but, but the approach is the same, focusing on the high talent. In JP Morgan, they invest a lot on the high potential, future talent. No, it may rightly or wrongly say, oh, why only 10% of the population here? But that's the future. You need to invest on the right people in the right seat for the right role in the right bus to drive the strategy.
Yep.
If you don't have the right driver for the strategy, you're going to go to the cliff and you're going to doom to fail.
Agreed.
So that's a cornerstone of talent management. Currently.
Agreed. Thank you. All right. So I'm cognizant of time. We've got another 5 minutes. I think there's another question here, which is quite a nice one around the metaverse. I'm not addressing anyone in particular, Pak Irvandi or Nurleli. Can someone explain the impact of the metaverse impacting work conditions and its people? So let me take it a little bit more. Does it really apply to us right now in Southeast Asia, this type of an environment of the metaverse? Pak Irvandi, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think we must be careful. Yeah, you just hype. Yeah, absolutely, you can anticipate, but again, this is not just talking about the fashion mode. The new thinking, the new approach, we should look at from innovative side, and then we look at from the new way of our communication, something like that. And then for us in Maybank Indonesia, actually we are approaching this for example, mostly for the training activity. For example, how people can imagine directly with the 3D reality to meet the heart of a customer on this. Okay.
Taranjit?
Pak Irvandi, your audio is broken up. Pak Irvandi?
If I can
Yes,
add on.
yes. Okay.
Ya, oke.
Yes, maybe.
Alright. Boleh diulang Pak Irvandi, tadi nggak kedengeran, tadi broken.
Okay, sorry. No, because so far I think it's be careful on your profession mode, but actually at the time being in my bank, we try to using for the training activity to make it simple. People can imagine directly the reality to make the visual and to imagine directly what happened in what happened in the real situation. That's what we try to start first for metaverse, because for the bank is absolutely. We still limit this in my view, but I don't know, maybe Prof. Sattar can give up some insight, but mostly at the time being for the training activity.
Yeah, no, I think is real, is impacting all businesses, particularly the B2C. In my 2023 book, there is a chapter on technological innovation, disruption, where I will talk about metaverse. Let me give you, I was talking to a young CEO, lady CEO. So she asked me this question, what is exactly metaverse? Everybody talk about it. Actually, there's no single unified definition of what is metaverse. They're still debating. Let me give you a scenario. A Gen Z manager in about, I would say about 5 to 10 years down the road, maybe closer to 8 to 10 years, maybe not 5, because we're still trying to recover from the pandemic. But let's say today is 2022, maybe by 2030, you're going to see this scenario. A young lady just awake, early in the morning, awake from the bed. She will place herself, put her foot down, and she'll be able to have a device that will be able to look at her physiology, look at all the body, the metrics, look at whatever BMI, whatever ladies like to measure. Then you open up the wardrobe. When you open up the wardrobe, she can visualize, wow, then you have Alexa, or you have, the digital voice assistant, they're different. Google have Apple, all different have different digital voice, which tell you, okay, Alexa, tell me what will be the weather today? What will be more suitable? So then they come out, oh yeah, then they have a hologram of themselves wearing clothing, which is suitable for that time of the year. So then they will ask themselves, okay, so now I'm going to have a meeting, start trying, and it's all on hologram. They visually look, oh, okay, the 4D dimension Then you put on the clothing and you can try out. So what happened is she's looking at herself, the actual clothing that she's want to put on has a digital component, because that is where the hologram, and that will tell you, okay, well, should I wear red, blue, should I wear a mini skirt, should I wear blah, blah, blah. So you can look at it and then how the outfit look like in the virtual world, whether the lipstick, what color should I wear. She's not even gone to the bathroom, but she can see herself how she's going to look like because of this metaverse technological platform. And then she can really feel, oh, how am I going to meet this evening? I'm going to meet my husband or my boyfriend or my lover, whatever. Or I'm going to meet my parents. So how will I need to bring another spare clothes? So you can envision all within minutes. And so it may look like sci-fi the way I describe it. It may look like pretty dystopic, but the reality is this: we have to envision what the future looks like for our customers, for our client, how decisions will you make. It's a very positive view. Now, I believe I have a very optimistic view of the future, and I believe we have to recognize and accept that is the future. Now, if you do not embrace, you do not put it in your organization, the strategy of putting all this disruptive technology in play, you're going to lose your competitive advantage. So this is, in last word I want to say is that metaverse is all about how do you embrace, augment the digital content experience to make it things easier fulfilling for the customer, make them feel more connected to their loved one, to make it more productive at work, making them happy. So you have productivity where people are happy, that increase the employee engagement, that relates to productivity and relates to profitability at the end of the day, which is the purpose of any organization. So it is what is in for me, what is in for the organization, what is in for the society. So this is real. Let me tell you, better wake up. A lot of companies don't know what the hell it is. But I'm telling you, I'll be talking about that in my 2023 book. And I'm telling you, now is the time. Company like Boeing is already doing that. Company like, I think the consumer good Procter & Gamble, and there is the Walmart is experimenting that. Microsoft, Starbucks, there is this company in UK, it's a retail chain called Tesco. I don't know, you heard of them, Tesco. They are doing it. So let me tell you, in Asia, when I talk about it, Prof, you are sci-fi, this is fiction. I said, rubbish. If you don't pay attention to this, let me tell you, you're going to be doomed. In banking, in Asia, I don't see anyone Pak Irvandi. I've not seen. There are a lot of bank, DBS is experimenting it. Bank of Fuji in Japan, the Sumitomo MBFC, Mitsubishi Fuji Bank, MBFC or something like that. They are doing it. Yeah. So you have to be prepared, Taranjit. This is reality, not science fiction. Sorry, Pak Irvandi, I disagree that you may not implement, but you need to start now. The board, start with the board, the CEO, they need to understand the C-suite. HR role is to get them ready to understand this is the future. Equip them with the skill. Start with very basic, fundamental about understanding what does it mean, how it will impact your business. That's a HR role, no longer a technical. HR role is very strategic business partnering, looking at the future strategy, advise the board. The HR should be sitting on the board. HR should have a seat on the board with the CFO and the CEO. Three roles that must be on the board. And that's what the late Jack Welch, who passed away early this year, he says that the CFO and the CHRO are the quarterbacks. You need to have them to support the CEO. Any CEO, even the best CEO who has the best Wharton degree in finance, cannot make independent decisions without having the best CFO, without the best CHRO. Now, I'm not saying the rest are important. Don't misunderstand me. These two roles will remain important. and they have to play a strategic business partnering role. And this is what HR missed the point. When I talk about this, I'm very direct, very candid, and I told HR, most of you are doomed. Most of them will not have a job because they do not understand their role. And this is where I was talking about 30 years of experience. Okay, Taranjit. I cannot hear you, Taranjit. I cannot hear you. Taranjit, you are mute.
Yeah, I would love to continue with this, Prof. Sattar. It's a discussion that we can continue on and on. I'm cognizant of the time. According to our time, we're hitting almost 9:34. I've got one last question, and I will leave it at that, from Samir. And I would like to address this to Pak Irvandi. So Samir talks about a changing requirement from organizations in terms of jobs being redefined. AI or RPAs coming into play. And as a result of which the workforce will be understandably worried. It happens to the best of us. Changing of the role, I now have an issue of how I am going to be impacted in this regard. And Prof. Sattar mentioned, if we are not learning, relearning, chances are we'll be left away. So I absolutely agree with that. The question is, as leaders, what can we do to allay the fear of this paradigm shift? And what can we do to explore the ways to reduce this attrition? Pak Irvandi, I would like you to address this last question for the evening.
I think this happened in the bank. Is this digital change the way of the bank, right? Branchless, okay. The branch is not longer relevant. People can do everything, transaction of the bank from everywhere. So the meaning, for example, we totally aware our teller role, our customer service roles totally is totally changed. And then absolutely, like Prof. Sattar mentioned, the leader absolutely must have the clear direction for the people. We should upskill them, we should reskill them, and then they can move to another role. Because in the reality, based on the World Economic Forum mentioned as well, yes, we lost some job, but we create a new job. Yes. And absolutely, we need to develop people for option for the new role. I'll give you an idea, maybe not happen in my bank, right? in my bank, Give you an idea, I know the story, for example, for the toll operator for Indonesia, that in the past, people not pay with the e-toll, right? Using still the cash money, but suddenly you implement e-toll, but you know that they call the pengumpul toll, the operator or the counter, they educate them, that, to be the programmer.
Wow.
Not make sense, for example. So meaning this I think should we as the leader, we should open the possibility, for example, you must have the burning platform, okay, you must change, and absolutely we create position for them, we create facility for them to upskill and reskill, and create the knowledge and support them to take the new role. That's I think that's what we have done so far.
Well done. In fact, I would like to add one more point to your point, Pak Irvandi. One is not only we as leaders being accountable to lift their game, but I think they as employees need to come to the table to want to grow as well. So there are two things. It takes two to play this game. And many times you also find there are some individuals who are not interested in this because they are so comfortable with the type of work that they've been doing for the last 10, 15 years. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to, because I'm pushing myself into areas that I've never been to before. And I think this is where it takes two to tango. Not only the organization giving you opportunities, but it is also the employees wanting to take that opportunities. And in my past consulting experiences, where individuals do not take that, it's very clear there is no place for you because the organization is moving along. And if you don't take it, I'm terribly sorry, you will not be on this journey as much as I would like to be there with you. So this is these are the counter to that. And whilst there are another 1 or 2 questions, I'm going to leave it at that. We have passed the 39-minute right now. I would like to thank everyone around the table, specifically our key speakers, Professor Sattar, Pak Irvandi, as well as Ibu Nurleli, for their absolutely brilliant insights that they've provided. I would like to thank all of you for your time to be here as long as you have. And more importantly, the questions that you have asked has been very, very meaningful for me personally. On behalf of QR, I would like to also thank you and hope to see you in the next session that is being planned very, very soon. Nabila, may I pass this back to you, Nabila?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Taranjit. Yeah.
So how would we like to end, Nabila?
Can we take a picture first, Taranjit?
Of course.
With
Of
all
course.
participants, yes.
May I request for all the participants to on their videos, please,
Or
their
the
video
camera,
cams.
please. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Cheers. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Ya, oke, baik, Mitra QR. Berakhir sudah diskusi kita malam ini. Kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada narasumber dan Mitra QR yang sudah menghadiri acara ini. Kami mohon kesediaan Mitra QR untuk dapat memberikan feedback terhadap acara QR ini melalui link pada chatroom atau scan pada layar. Mohon Mitra QR dapat mengisi form feedback dengan data lengkap agar kami dapat mengirimkan sertifikat kehadiran Mitra QR dalam QR Talk malam ini. Jangan lupa ikuti QR Talk Global Webinar Series sesi 4 yang akan dilaksanakan pada 7 Desember 2022, membahas mengenai gig economy, reward and talent management bersama narasumber yang pastinya tidak kalah luar biasa. Informasi tentang Quality Resources Coaching, Quantum Step Advisory, dan program Coach Certification, serta Institute of Disruptive Leadership bisa diakses melalui website QR atau di Kampus X atau melalui website yang tercantum pada layar. Dan jika memerlukan info lanjut, dapat menghubungi kami melalui email maupun WhatsApp yang tertera di layar. Semoga apa yang sudah dibicarakan dalam acara ini dapat menjadi ilmu baru dan penyemangat serta inspirasi untuk terus maju bagi Mitra QR. Selamat malam, selamat beristirahat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Taranjit.
Thank you. Thank you all. I will be signing off now. Thank you, Professor Sattar.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.